Everyone, and welcome to Make a Voting Plan Now, brought to you by Vote All of Us Together. My name is Owen Crowley, and I am your moderator for this evening. We are joined by a wonderful group of panelists this evening, as well as a new co-moderator. So let's get right to it. With 35 days left until Election Day, our program is going to focus this evening on exploring the latest up-to-date information on how to best vote in PA and Chester County, as well as an overview of how our votes are being protected. So let's get started with Marian Moskowitz, our Commissioner of Chester County. How are you doing this evening?
Great, thanks. Thanks for having us or having me. And I'm excited to be here. There's a lot going on and it's getting closer and closer to the election. So anything we can help with, we're happy to be here and share.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us. Up next, another Chester County Commissioner, we have Josh Maxwell. How are you doing?
Good evening, Owen. Thank you so much for allowing us to come and chat with the group tonight. It's an honor to be with you.
Honored to be with you as well. And up next, we have Patrick Paul, Regional Voter Protection Director, and works with the PA Democratic Coordinated Campaign. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, and thank you for having me. And I'm really excited to be here and to talk about voting in Pennsylvania and specifically Chester County.
Awesome, thank you. And up next we have Stephen D., Deputy Voter Protection Director and PA Democratic Coordinated Campaign. How are you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing well, Owen. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with everyone.
Of course. And last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Jerry Allman, one of two committee people in Highland Township, Chester County. He's passionate about environmental issues and is working within his district to get out the vote. How are you doing, Jerry?
Great, and I'll be glad when this is over one way or another.
I think we could all say the same. And finally, my new co-moderator for this evening, Michelle Allen. How are you?
I am great and really excited for your questions. Please type them in the chat so we can ask them of the panelists.
All right, so let's get right to it. Let's start with Marian Moskowitz. We have Make a Voting Plan Now. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been working on recently?
Oh, we've been working on a lot of things. This is a unique election, certainly. And so we've been working on putting safety protocols in place to make sure that everybody feels confident and safe that their vote will be counted. And so we've been working on ballot boxes and satellite offices and how we're going to man those, staff those. And we have new equipment, faster equipment that will allow us to process a lot of the mail-in ballots and scan them as well. So we've been putting a lot of new technology in place. It's all been checked and it's running well, and we think we're ready to go. I mean, we expect some hiccups, there always are, but I think we have deputies that are going to pick up the ballots with body cameras. We're videoing everything. So I think we're taking every precaution we can, and our staff is working tirelessly to make sure that this is great. So
I can only imagine. Thank you so much for your work, and we're really excited to see that really pull through for a blue wave. All right, let's head over to Josh Maxwell. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on and how else we can get out the vote?
Oh, sure. First, I think it's worth mentioning that, Mary and I are a team on the Board of Commissioners, so we coordinate on almost all of this, and she's the chair of the board, so oftentimes I'm following her wisdom and lead. But one of the things we did here in Chester County for the first time is set up satellite election offices. I don't believe that's happened before in Chester County. So we're trying to make ballots and just more accessible to people wherever they live, whether it's folks down in Highland Township or people in the northern part of the county. So we set up satellite election offices in Oxford and Henrietta Hinckley Library. Marian hinted at this. We're going to have drop boxes, ballot boxes at 10 public libraries throughout Chester County. So people who get those in the mail and they just want to drop them off down the street, everyone kind of knows where the public library is, whether it's Coatesville, Parksburg, Kennett, Avon Grove, Phoenixville. Everyone's gonna have an opportunity to return that simply as close. And we have a 24/7 drop box in Westchester, the Government Services Center. So no matter when your shift is, you'll be able to drop it off at a drop box somewhere in Chester County. So the main objective here is to make sure we have a secure election make sure we have an opportunity for everyone to cast their ballots effectively, have faith in the system. And as Marion alluded to, making sure that we have a very efficient way of counting our ballots. And we're going to implement a very aggressive, very accurate ballot counting process beginning 8 p.m. on November 3rd.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. All right, let's head on over to Patrick now. Could you tell us a little bit about the work you've been doing as the Regional Voter Protection Director? My apologies.
I know
It's a little bit of a
time.
mouthful.
It is. So I've mainly been working on, assisting people with making their plan to vote, mainly in, Chester County being one of them, but a lot of the surrounding counties as well. So if I could just speak on that, I think the very important thing to do is, or the first step is people should register to vote. And the deadline to register to vote is October 19th. All registration applications must be received by that date, and just being postmarked isn't enough. And for those at home, please register online, go to iwillvote.com/PA, fill out the application and submit. Currently in Pennsylvania, there are 3 ways for all registered voters to cast their ballots for the general election. The first is early in person, the second is by mail, and the third is in person on election day, or I also like to call it good faithful, old faithful. So I'll just touch on, voting early in person. In Chester County, as both of the commissioners previously mentioned, voting early in Chester County started on September 25th. Voters can now vote early in person by going to Voter Services office to request and cast their mail-in ballot on site. And then later on, beginning October 5th, both the satellite locations will be will open. And I think one thing that people really need to be aware of is that if you are considering voting early in person, the deadline for that option is October 27th. Now, for those who are interested in voting by mail, I urge you all to apply as soon as possible to ensure that you'll have enough time to receive, mark, and return your ballot by election day, November 3rd. And it's a little different. So there are a few steps on how to do that. And we've kind of boiled it down to 4 steps to complete your mail-in ballot. The first is completing your entire ballot in blue or black ink. The second is to seal the ballot in the smaller secrecy envelope. Then place that in the larger return envelope. Now, if you do not place your ballot in that smaller secrecy envelope, it will not count. I know many of you are probably aware of the secrecy envelope issue, or also known as naked ballots. So please just be very aware. If you do not place your ballot in the secrecy envelope first, it will not count. Third, sign and complete the voter declaration on the back of the larger return envelope. And lastly, mail your ballot or return it in person to your county election office or another official drop-off location in Chester County beginning October 13th. Commissioner, please correct me if I'm wrong. There will be 10 drop boxes available throughout the county where voters can physically drop off their ballots. Again, please check iwillvote.com/PA to find out where you can drop off your ballot. And then lastly, voting in person. Polls will be open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 3rd. And please be sure to confirm your polling location when making your plan to vote. If you have any questions about voting, we have a toll-free number for any Pennsylvania voter to call to receive support. The number is 1-833-PA-VOTES. Again, it's 1-833-728-6837. And to demonstrate the process of voting by mail, we have a short clip by Director KU, who's just been amazing. So if you guys can, please play that video.
My name is Kay, and I'm the Voter Protection Director with the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. I'm super excited today because I'm going to vote by mail. I received my mail-in ballot, and I used my blue pen to make my selections, filling in the bubbles completely. Now, you can use a blue pen or a black pen, but make sure that you use the same pen to complete the entire ballot. All right. Now I'm going to take this and put it inside the secrecy envelope that looks like this. So once I put it inside there, I'm going to seal it, not by licking it, but I'm going to use a paper towel. I'm going to wet it a little bit and then seal it that way. Now, make sure that you don't write anything on the secrecy envelope, because if your name, your party affiliation, or any of your candidate choices are reflected on the secrecy envelope, then your ballot won't count. But put this, your ballot, inside the secrecy envelope, inside the return envelope. All right. So once it's in there, on one side there will be your County Board of Elections office and that address on one side. And then on the other side, there's a voter declaration. So I signed it. Make sure you sign the declaration or it won't count. And I filled in all the information that they requested on the voter declaration. Now, there's also a witness declaration on this side. So for voters who need help and assistance in completing a ballot, they can get that help. And the person who provides the help, they fill out the witness declaration on this side. But for me, this will stay blank. Okay, and I'm going to seal it again using the same paper towel to wet it, and then it is almost ready. You want to make sure that if you're going to mail it, that there's postage on it. You might have to put a stamp on it if your county is not putting return postage on here, but you can mail it in. Your ballot must be received by Election Day at 8 p.m. It has to be received by your County Board of Elections office by then, or it won't count. So make sure if you're mailing it to give plenty of time for it to arrive. And then if you're going to drop it off in person, then make sure that you follow all COVID guidance and be safe out there. All right, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to call the Pennsylvania Democratic Party's Voter Assistance Hotline. The number is 833-PA-VOTES. The number again, 833-728-6837. We're happy to take any of your voting calls.
All right, thank you so much for that video, and thank you, Patrick, for joining us and for letting us know a little bit more about this. I know we are also joined by one of your fellow workers, Deputy Voter Protection Director, Stephen D. Stephen, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Owen. How are you?
I'm
So I want to talk a little bit about the voter protection program that we here at the Pennsylvania Democratic Coordinated Campaign are putting together. Before I do get into that, I do want to add, because there may be a question for those who are paying very close attention to the video we just showed. The Supreme Court actually just came out with a decision very recently, which has extended the deadline for receipt of ballots, mail ballots. So if a mail ballot is postmarked by Election Day, the 3rd, and received by the Board of Elections by November 6th, it will still be counted. The video, which was made just before the Supreme Court case, because things are quickly changing and moving, said that the deadline is November 3rd. But in all of our hearts, the deadline is as soon as possible. So everyone should submit their mail ballots as soon as possible so that they get to your county elections office. But with respect to the voter protection program that we're building, that Patrick is our point person for in Chester County, I mean, as you all know, protecting the vote and making sure that every vote counts is more important than ever in this election. And that is especially true in Pennsylvania, which we all know is crucial to defeating Donald Trump and charting a path for our country to build back better. That is why we at the Pennsylvania Democratic Coordinated Campaign are building the most robust, the most expansive voter protection organization in Pennsylvania's history. And we can't do that by ourselves, but we can do that with everyone's help. We are recruiting thousands of volunteers to help us protect the vote. And that's not just on Election Day. it's right now. It's before, during, and after Election Day. And just to give a sampling of the program that we are building with everyone's help, we are recruiting vote early monitors who will be going to the satellite offices, to the boards of election offices, to get an understanding of how this new vote by mail in person process is working, and to be able to assist voters who need assistance, who need help knowing what to do. We are obviously recruiting poll observers, which everyone is probably familiar with. It happens every election. We need people inside and outside of the polling locations to be able to assist voters and solve problems. We are also putting together a Canvass Observer program. For the first time in Pennsylvania's history, there's no excuse vote by mail. And as a result, there are going to be a lot of mail ballots that the county will be reviewing and tabulating. And we are, with the coordinated campaign, going to have folks who are going to be right there every hour of every day of however long this canvas will take. And we are going to be training folks to know what should be happening at the canvas and to be of assistance as they can be of assistance. And then obviously we also are doing tons of phone banking, which I'm sure lots of groups are doing to spread the word, to assist with voter education, to recruit people for all the roles that I just described. And if anyone out there is interested in helping us with this voter protection effort, all you have to do is sign up at joebiden.com/protectpolls. It's a very robust, very expansive program because it's going to take every single one of us to make sure that every single vote counts.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stephen. That was great to hear. And it's, again, great to have you on this evening. Just a reminder to everyone, we are going to have a Q&A very soon. So make sure you get all of your questions in if you have any for our panelists this evening. Now, last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Jerry Aumann on. How are you doing, Jerry?
I'm great. Thank you, Owen. And first of all, I would love to thank all of the panelists who are on with me for their incredibly hard work this election cycle. Again, I came into this as a novice before the primaries, and I thought it was hectic then with everything changing as rapidly as it was. And I was rather impressed with how well we did as a county, considering, mail-in voting was new to Pennsylvania at that point. So my main goal is to get people out to vote. I really believe we need this to be a landslide for Joe Biden and team and all the Democrats down the ballot. So to that end, I'm having a lot of conversations with voters in my area and random people that I corral on the street. And I urge everybody watching to do the same. Talk to your friends, your family, and urge them to register if they've not registered already. Hopefully that's not the case, but if they haven't, get them to register. Talk to them about how they plan to vote on election day. Are they going to go to the polls? Would they feel more comfortable voting by mail? And if they're going to vote by mail, get that application in tomorrow. I've been telling all of the voters that I'm working with that their ballot should be in the mailbox or a drop box by October 15th. I don't think there's any reason to take any chances, the ballots getting to voter services late. And again, I would just stress that talk to friends, family, go over all these little bits of things we're talking about tonight, mention the secrecy envelopes to your elderly grandmother and your mother or father, because it is surprising what people will forget to do. Reiterate, make sure they sign the outside of the outer envelope, not their secrecy envelope. And details in this election cycle really matter. So again, thanks to Stephen, Patrick, Josh, and Marion for the incredible work they've done. It's, I don't envy their positions and what they've gone through.
Thank you so much, Sherry. And thank you as well for being here this evening. All right, I'm going to pass it over now to our co-moderator, Michelle Allen. What questions do we have for our panelists this evening?
Yes, thanks for everyone who's submitted questions. So let's get right into them. And we want to start with, tell us why this is the election of a lifetime and everyone should vote. And I'm going to combine these two questions. We even have a great example that somebody wrote in. Christina, as a CP, I'm sending voting postcards to young Dems in my precinct who didn't vote in 2018 or 2019. I want to give them a website that will tell them why voting is so important and will explain the impact that elected officials have in their lives. Can anybody make a recommendation for such a website? These are folks who are registered but aren't voting. So again, why is this the election of a lifetime? And are there digital resources or other tools that we can give people to help convince them to participate?
All right, let's see if first we can go to Patrick. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you at least start and tell us why is this the election of a lifetime and why each person should register and vote? And if you could go into more detail a little bit on that question that we had by Christina, that would be wonderful.
Right. So as far as the question in regards to the website, I'll direct the person to padems.com/vote. There's a lot of great information there. I know it probably won't touch on the importance of elected officials, but a lot of there's a ton of other information that I think will be very useful in explaining to people the importance of voting and actually how to vote. Now the importance now, it's to be frank, I think the first thing for people to look at is the Supreme Court. You know, the recent passing of RBG was very unfortunate. Actually, when that happened, we were in the middle of a training. I don't remember if it was poll observing or canvas training. It was one of the two. But to see the emotions on people's faces as that news came through, you could just see the magnitude of it just weighing on people. You know, so for me, as an attorney by practice, I think it is very important that judicial nominations aren't just made by one side, and that we all have an opportunity to put someone there that has all of our interests in mind, and not just for the few.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, so I see we have another question here. I know I had been seeing this myself on social media as of late from James. He has a question here. What about security on Election Day? He believes the Trump administration appears to be promoting violence at the polls. Would anyone like to comment on that? Maybe Stephen?
Sure, I'm happy to. I'd also be interested to hear the commissioner's perspective. I mean, we will be having poll observers who are there to be able to alert us to any intimidation, any disturbance aimed towards voters. It is our job to make sure that every voter is able to cast their vote, and so we are fully devoted to putting a program in place to be able to identify the issue and raise it to the awareness of the proper authorities, and so it's very much front of mind when it comes to our voter protection efforts.
Commissioner Moskowitz, would you like to comment on that as well?
Sure. So from a county perspective, we can't put security or guards at a polling location. We do have roamers that will be around to deal with issues. And if there are any real severe issues, you have to call 911 because we don't want any disruption of the voting process. But a county doesn't really have the authority to come in with any kind of police or anything like that. So, but there's always 911 and everybody knows that that's where they need to call. So hopefully it will be nothing, but you never know. So we have to be prepared.
Always got to plan ahead. Thank you so much. Michelle, do we have any other questions for our panelists?
We do. So from Bob, if I decide to vote in person but apply for a mail ballot, what do I do? I was told that I need to take my mail ballot with me. What happens if I forget the mail ballot?
Commissioner Maxwell, would you be able to answer that one for us?
So, and I believe that's Mr. Roggio. I'd be happy to answer his questions. In order to vote with your mail-in ballot at the poll, you must bring your ballot, the whole package, everything you get in the mail, security envelope, the return envelope, the ballot, and bring them in. Voter Services will spoil the ballot and give you a regular ballot to go vote. Pretty quick process and an evolution in improvement since the primary. Otherwise, if you don't have those things, you'd have to vote provisionally, and they'll have to go check to make sure you didn't vote by mail. A more difficult process for the staff to go through, could take a couple of days. So make sure you bring all those things into vote at the poll.
So question for you, just following up on that, say, it has been mailed out to me and I choose to go vote in person early. Say I was to go vote tomorrow, it was mailed out a couple days ago and I hadn't received it yet. What happens in a situation like that?
You said if it's mailed out, can you just
Yeah. So if it was mailed out to me, but I choose, say, tomorrow to go in early for voting to Voter Services, and I don't bring it with me, am I still able to vote? Are they able to, cancel that mail-in, even though I didn't know if it was mailed out, if I had it, if I didn't bring it with me?
So if you get the mail-in ballot, but then you can go to Voter Services without it?
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. I'm trying to make eye contact with Marion through Zoom. They'd send you home to get it, probably.
So I believe that you fill out a provisional ballot, but the question that we're actually waiting for an answer from the state is which ballot is the ballot. So if you're scheduled for a mail-in ballot and you go to the polls and you vote provisionally, is that the ballot that counts, or do you lose your vote? And that we're waiting for an answer from the Secretary of State on.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Michelle, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, we do have one I think that's very fitting with this. So when should people actually expect to see their ballot? So if I want to try to hold out before I get too excited and go in person, when should I expect to receive my mail-in ballot?
Do you want me to take that on?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you.
So the ballots are going out as we speak, and they should all be out by mid-end next week. So we're in pretty good shape with that.
Okay, great. And also, I think folks really enjoyed the video that showed us how to complete it. And Anita did ask, are we able to share the link in case people want to share it with other folks?
Yes. So it's the same website that I announced before. It's padems.com/vote.
And if I could make another plug, the video is also available at padems.com/voter-toolkit. And this is our voter protection toolkit, which we have been cultivating materials, resources for anyone who's interested in voter protection, who wants, one-pagers on the different ways to vote, or on the ways to get involved in voter protection. There's an FAQ, and there are even slide decks that we'd love for anyone who's interested to share with your own network, so that we can just get this information out to as many people as possible. So the voter protection toolkit is just a really, really great resource for anyone who's interested in really diving deep into voter protection and all that entails.
Wonderful, thank you. Michelle, it looks like we have another great question from Koa that looks like maybe fitting here. All right. So from COA, if by any chance the secrecy envelope is missing when my ballot arrives, is it possible to obtain a new one? If I use a ballot drop box, will I need to bring anything else other than the completed ballot in the secrecy envelope?
If you don't have the secrecy envelope, your ballot doesn't count. It has to be in the secrecy envelope. And there is nothing else you need when you drop off your ballot, but each person drops their own ballot off. You can't bring ballots for other people.
If the secrecy envelope was somehow not included in the packet that they received, is there a way that they can get another secrecy envelope from voter services?
I would call voter services. I don't know what that process is, but you'd have to call there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So another one from Bob here. What is the county and state doing to let people know they have to take mail-in ballots with them to vote in person? He is worried the average voter may not know this. Commissioner Maxwell, would you be able to answer this one for us?
You said what the state and the county is doing?
Yes.
All right, so I can speak to the county. One, we come to things like this. Mary and I have both posted videos on Instagram and Facebook about letting people know the rules of voting this year, and they've changed week to week. Trying to get that information out. So we really heavy town halls.
Oh, give me one moment. Could everyone else mute their mics real quick? All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Could you just repeat what you were saying for us?
Yeah, I was just saying we're being very aggressive right now by essentially going to forums like this, going to town halls, posting videos to our social media, making sure people understand the rules and how they've changed since mid-September. Additionally, the county sent out a postcard describing the process that landed at my house this week. And we have a really great resource, and if it's appropriate with the moderators, I'll drop it in the chat. And we set up a dashboard that can be updated instantly and answers all questions. It also has, for the things like the security envelope question, where requires a little more in-depth looking at, there's an email. You email them, they'll get back to you within a day and answer all those questions. So our dashboard will be the place to go in Chester County for any changes or any questions. The ballot comes folded in the mail. What do I do? They'll be there to answer those questions.
Gotcha. Thank you. And we have another question from Christina. Patrick or Jerry, if you wouldn't mind hopping on this question here. I wanted to see, it looks like she's a little bit concerned about, some of the allegations about fraud going around. It seems a lot of the Trump administration and Trump voters are saying, your mail-in ballots are just going to get thrown away. Is there any comments you have on that, Patrick?
I'm actually going to pass that to Stephen.
So, we are obviously working very hard to make sure that every voter knows how to vote, knows where to drop off their ballots, and knows the basic principles. When it comes to issues of fraudulent ballots or those sorts of things, I'm not sure necessarily it would be the party addressing that, and maybe we might want to pull in additional panelists into that question, but we are working very hard to make sure all voters know exactly how to vote.
Great, thank you. Jerry or commissioners, would you be able to comment on that question as well?
I would just say it's important for all of us not to succumb to fear. That's part of the Trump plan, is to just get everybody so psyched out that people start scurrying about and making silly mistakes. So again, I think we stress, get your ballot in early, make sure it's in the secrecy envelope, make sure it's signed. So there's little chance that it's going to be disqualified in any way. And going back to COA's question a little earlier, I thought it was just a little unclear, and I know I would like some clarification, and Marion or Josh can address this. But my understanding is when they drop their ballot in one of the drop boxes, it not only has to be in the secrecy envelope, but it also has to be in the outer return envelope as well. Is that correct?
Yes, most definitely. And that outer envelope must be signed. It's the same process. It's whether you put it in the mail or you take it to the ballot box.
Yeah, it sounded like Koa was planning on just dropping his ballot in the secrecy envelope in the drop box.
Oh, no, we can't have that.
I
No.
want everybody to be clear on that point, so thank you.
And if
Yeah,
I could just make a quick point, I think it's very important this cycle that people are educated on the different ways to vote. It's not just simply going to the polls on election day. You know, this cycle requires much more voter education, and that is what, you know, my role specifically entails, is letting people know how to vote. And that's the importance of making your plan ahead of time to vote, because it's not simply just going to the polls anymore.
And to that point, we had two great follow-up questions. I think we kind of answered indirectly, but I want to ask them directly just so it's crystal clear. One great one was, can I drop off my mother-in-law's vote by mail ballot at the voter system center? I believe I already said no, but what are the alternatives that I could do to help out a family member who wants a different way?
You can drive
I
her,
would,
or you
yeah.
can help her put it in the mailbox.
Yes.
Great. And another similar question, for those who are overwhelmed with the mail-in ballot, they want it voided, they really want to be able to vote in person. Again, I think you've answered it, but they should wait, actually get their mail-in ballot and then bring it in, correct?
Yes. The entire package, everything that you received, you must take in.
If I could jump in for one second on those points, scrolling through the questions, part of that question was, are all the judges of elections going to be up to speed on how this is to be done at each and every polling place?
Yes, they're all being trained. We have video training and in-person training for some things. So they're going to receive plenty of training.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and commissioners, I have a question for the both of you. So the PA Republicans have appealed the decision to allow counting ballots 3 days after Election Day to the Supreme Court. What implications does this move have on our PA election?
So obviously, we don't know, number one, whether they're going to take the case, and number two, how they're going to rule. They could rule that we don't have that 3-day window and that every ballot must be returned by 8 o'clock November 3rd. That's why Josh and I have been encouraging people, our county has been encouraging people to get your ballot in by November 3rd. We just don't want to take a chance. We don't know what Justice Alito is going to do. I think he's going to make a pretty quick decision, but we don't know yet. So there is always a possibility that that can be reversed. So don't take a chance. November 3rd is your day.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Commissioner Maxwell, did you want to comment on that as well?
No, Marion really kind of closed the loop on there. I'll just add that the folks running the election in Chester County, I'll just speak to their integrity and their energy and their commitment to running a safe and fair election here. We have people who are experts in logistics. We've really staffed up our both equipment, our physical space where we'll be counting ballots. We'll be doing it at a public university, and more leg room for the workers. But also, these folks are ready to get moving here pretty quick. We realize there's gonna be a lot of tension in Chester County, and we want to make sure we make the voters here confident and hopefully proud of the outcome.
And if I could just add one point that I think is really important to Josh's point, talking about the staff and the process, we are going to, once we're allowed to start counting and processing, we're not going to stop. We're running 24 hours a day, 3 shifts. So that leaves a room for a little error when you have that consistency going, you're not stopping.
Fantastic, thank you. We have another question here. What assistance is available to support Hispanic, Latino, and other ESL voters?
So we have our voter assistance hotline. which Patrick mentioned. It's 1-833-PA votes. And this is a great resource for people who need assistance. We have, with the Democratic Party, a language working group where we coordinate amongst people who can translate and assist with voter questions. So it's a great resource for anyone who needs assistance for languages other than English. And I guess also English.
And the county dashboard has a link for Spanish as well.
Fantastic, thank you. Michelle, do we have any other questions there from the group?
I did have one follow-up for Commissioner Marion. You mentioned you'll be doing the 24-hour cycle. When will the counting begin of ballots, of mail-in ballots?
Begin counting
Yes.
November 3rd
Okay.
at 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
When the rolls, everything starts moving.
All right.
We're going to be rocking and rolling.
All right, perfect. So we're just going to do a quick roundabout with the group here. Just one last question. We'll start with Commissioner Maxwell. What important message would you like to leave our viewers with this evening?
Return the ballots as early as possible and with the entire packet in place.
All right, Commissioner Moskowitz.
I would just encourage you to reach out to friends and family, parents if they need help getting to the ballot boxes or the polls, whatever they want, to make sure that everybody votes. This is such a critical election. We can't take a chance.
Thank you. Patrick?
Secrecy envelopes, secrecy envelopes, secrecy envelopes. It's very important. So please, when you do complete your ballot, like I said before, blue or black ink, but seal the ballot in that smaller secrecy envelope, place it into the larger return envelope, and just complete that declaration and mail it out or deliver it in person.
Thank you. Stephen?
I just encourage everyone to make your own plan to vote. There are so many ways that you can vote this year. And so folks should use the method that they feel most comfortable with and use the other methods as contingency plans. You know, the best thing that anyone can do is make your own personal plan to figure out how you are going to get your ballot cast.
Thank you, Stephen. And last and certainly not least, Dr. Jerry.
So I would reiterate what everyone has just said and add that please, you know, corral 5 to 6 of your friends or older family members and walk them through all these processes and help them in any way they need, you know, just to make sure their vote counts. I will tell you that voter services in Chester County is extremely helpful. So if there's any issue with your ballot, if you're not receiving it, give them a call. The response is phenomenal. And, you know, follow up, and don't forget the secrecy envelope.
Wonderful. And again, that voter assistance hotline is 1-833-728-6837. And be sure to check out our website, Vote All of Us Together. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We welcome your donations at our website. Again, voteallofustogether.com. All proceeds go to turning Chester County blue. Connect with us and get a free signed bumper sticker, and be sure to check out our trendy All of Us Joe Biden hats. Next week, we will be joined by another wonderful group of panelists and another co-moderator. Next week is called Candidates Are Key to a Better Future, and it will be again Tuesday, October 6th at 7:30. We will be joined by Larry Halsham, Chrissy Houlihan, Diane Herron, Richard Ruggieri, and Bob Roggio. Thank you all again so much for joining us tonight, and we hope you enjoy the debate.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Matt.